Okay, sorry you're seeing me for like the same outfit, like at least 3 videos in a row now, but we are banging out some videos in preparation for me being out of town. But this article just kind of popped up, and I think it is ridiculous, and it is Ontario School Board accused of pressuring teachers not to teach Racist to Kill a Mockingbird. So let's just get into it. Hey guys, Feature Amanda here. So I just kind of wanted to jump in case somebody hasn't read or seen To Kill a Mockingbird, so they have no idea what the story's about. So basically the story focuses on a kid named Scout, and there's 2 different sections of the story really. Like there's her perspective on what's going on in the world, and then her perspective of her father dealing with a court case. Her father is currently defending a black man who was wrongfully accused of raping a white woman, which right there also just has a nice little link to a lot of things happening by today's standards, because for one, wrongful convictions is something that happens pretty frequently. I actually did a bunch of work for wrongful convictions for the university I attended. 2, the concept of false accusations is pretty pertinent in today's society right now. And 3, obviously the racial undertones that is just important to the story. There's another very prominent black character in the book that is more linked to Scout and her personal journey in the book, so the whole thing just has just a lot of different avenues for education. I don't want to give any spoilers to what happens in regards to that, but it really is just kind of the tale of her learning to just be a better person and the lessons that she's learning from her father about how the world is. Though it was written in 1960, it's based on the 1930s, so it kind of gives you a little bit more of like a time scale reference for like how bad the racism would have been at the time. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that aside in there for people who had never read or seen it, just to kind of have a better general understanding of how like race directly plays into it. So let's get back to the video. So first of all, they're saying that it's not specifically a ban. They're not telling teachers they can't teach it, but the teachers are saying that the wording in the memo that was sent out is kind of like, it's one of those things, it's like, we're not telling you can't do it, but then here's all the reasons why you can't do it. So teachers have been urged not to teach the American classic To Kill a Mockingbird because it is harmful, violent, and oppressive to black students, and its tropes of a white savior makes its black character seem less than human. Now, To Kill a Mockingbird is a novel. I read it in 9th grade, and if you go through this article a little bit further, it specifies that it's typically taught in the 9th grade curriculum, so it's the first year that you are in high school. So that is an age where most people are fully aware that there are racial issues in the world, especially in 2018. I think that there is like a very distinct knowledge that there is some racial strife going on in North America. That is not something that anybody should have been sheltered from. And To Kill a Mockingbird, while yes, was written by a white person in a time where racism was a lot more acceptable, this book is probably one of the best things there is out there to, in my opinion, counter racism, to make people double think their assumptions, to make people think about why they find people that aren't like them scary or different, or they find something unusual about them, or that they judge them because they're not like them. And this book calls out that behavior and this attitude, and it has for years. I found To Kill a Mockingbird to be one of the best books that I ever read in my high school and my entire school education. And I think it's very important for kids to read stuff like To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, obviously, there are going to be some things in this book that are dated. It was written in 1964. That's a very long time ago. And in a lot of ways, we've come extremely far from the attitudes that were in 1964, but in a lot of ways, we haven't changed as a society much at all. And that's why books like this that preach understanding and acceptance of those who are different from you, it's more important than ever. So a couple of the concerns that they brought up was obviously how often the N-word is used, but that, unfortunately, that is a word that is historically used. It's why it gets used in movies like Django Unchained. It's why it gets used in other movies where you're supposed to be portraying racist behavior. And yes, while it would suck to be a black student reading that word, I don't think that censoring the information is the response. So while they are just kind of maintaining that the text is not banned, they have said that if there's any complaints about the book, they will not back up teachers in any way, shape, or form. They even went on to suggest that because it was written by a white writer, it had white supremacy at its core. And while teachers realize that yes, there's probably some dated information in the book, it still exists as an extremely strong teaching tool. And teachers kind of maintain that critical awareness of the racism. And it's probably just one of those units that would need a little bit of a foreshadowing if you really wanted to protect yourself. Just point out that yes, there are going going to be terms used in this book that are hateful in nature that should not be used. The book is going to go on to explain why it's not good to treat people this way and call people by these names. I'm on the side of the teachers that mentioning a history of racism is not racist in itself. And if you stop trying to talk about stuff like that, you stop affecting change. I feel like we're unintentionally getting to this point where we're so afraid of causing people any kind of discomfort that you just shy away from anything. And then you just have a nation of stupid, uneducated people that don't understand what's happened in history, that don't understand what got us from how things were to how things are, and why some of those tones and attitudes have carried over from those past days, from those more ignorant times, and why they're still alive and well today. And books like this can open that forum for conversation. I think that To Kill a Mockingbird is an incredibly important book, and it's sad to see it getting banned in different school districts across the United States, and now kind of seems like it's under fire in Canada as well. And school boards are just trying to argue that maybe English teachers don't have the fortitude to have those kinds of discussions in class. But, you know, I didn't even necessarily have the best English teacher when I was reading this book, and I still think that I got the most of what that book had to offer because it was laid out plainly in front of you in the book. And everything about these situations makes me really sad, because I feel like we kind of went from an age where it was education first, like education was being pushed pretty hard, and the idea of learning about the past so as to not repeat the mistakes of the past was kind of the strong thing. And now it almost seems like we're taking a step back from that. We're taking a step back from that logic, which is just really unfortunate to me. And it makes me sad, and I feel bad for these teachers. I know they're worried that, you know, it's only a matter of time before other books get removed from the curriculum just because they might deal with topics that are a little bit too sensitive. But just the idea of having to ban any book or content that deals with racism because it might make people uncomfortable, or some people might see it as racist in nature, I think is incredibly short-sighted and naive, because if no one is introduced to this kind of content, if no one sees this kind of content and they are from more sheltered backgrounds and are from smaller towns, they're never going to learn. And like I said, To Kill a Mockingbird, I have always seen as a stand against racism, as a stand for equality, and it's just absolutely despicable that this is happening now. And I think the best way to describe the book is that it's a book about racism, not a racist book. And the whole situation just makes me so upset for future generations and their education. Like, at what point do you stop talking about genuine historical moments because you don't want to upset people? When do you stop having discussions about what's going on in our countries at this very moment because you don't want to upset people? Where's the line drawn? So I really do hope to see some teachers kind of making a stand against this in the coming year. I'm hoping that some of them do just decide to say, hey, you didn't flat out say we couldn't. You put a bunch of obstacles in front of our way, but we're still going to do it. We're still going to teach it. And I'd love to see what happens. And I would love to be one of the people, you know, rooting for them should any kind of issue arise, and supporting them through that endeavor, because I think it is illogical and disgusting to try to censor this kind of material to children. And I think that it does more harm than good, because I think this is an important book, and I think it's important for people to read it. So let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments section down below. Did you guys have to read To Kill a Mockingbird when you were in school? Do you agree with what I have to say? If not, let me know. If so, let me know. So thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and we'll catch you all later.